Hey, what is up, everybody? Jeremy here. And guys, I'm very excited for the conversation we have today. We have Natalie Mills with us today, and she's a leading ladies fashion, jewelry, and accessory brand, and she's styling women globally with a luxury for less concept. Natalie, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thanks, Jeremy. So excited to be here and get the conversation going.
Yeah, so the thing I'm extremely interested in is you're living in the U.S. now, but you didn't originally start out here, and at the same time, the concept for your fashion brand also had a lot to do with the fashion you had created yourself in the beginning. So tell us your story.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, as you can hear from my accent, definitely not USA based. Living in the beautiful country of South Africa. Funny enough, Jeremy, I started designing from a very young age, and I was 7 years old when I used to go, 7, 8, when I used to go with my family onto vacations, pick up seashells, and I would take the seashells and kind of paint them with nail varnish and kind of sell them to the neighborhood. So a born fashionista and entrepreneur at a very young age. Kind of found the brand in 2012, coming from quite hard times but still having a love for fashion. I didn't have that disposable income to go and buy these beautiful gems and buy this gorgeous jewelry. And the stuff that I would buy would just kind of like fall apart. So I really realized there's a market here to give quality to the audience as well as giving them something beautiful. And that was kind of the journey and the venture of where my brand really started back in South Africa. Having found that key, we unlocked a really beautiful niche, and we quickly became one of the fastest growing fashion brands across the African continent. So that's kind of where it transitioned from my first home. I call America my second home now.
So, I guess from that perspective then, you've been known at times as the Bling Queen. What is bling in this perspective?
Oh, everything's bling. I always say, if you can make it, we can bling it. I just think, that is what the brand is really synonymous for, and that is our bling, putting that kind of element onto any kind of trend or any kind of design. It really kind of separates us from everyone else in the market because it's so important to be distinctive, right? So if they see something bling, it's automatically, oh, is that a Natalie Mills design? But, there's just so much more about bling. There's so much scientific thoughts and feelings that go into it, the endorphins, the serotonins. For an example with crystal, the brain recognizes crystal as the new and the now, no matter how many times it sees it, and that kind of releases endorphins. So I'm all about feeling good, and I'm all about, the happiness and the happy vibes and, the healing and the journey that I've been through. It wasn't easy. So how do I transcend my art and kind of give it as a gift to the world as well?
So, looking at it as, kind of starting this out with your own hard work, without a ton of capitalization, I guess in those early days, what were you doing to get noticed? What were you doing to get your products in front of people? Like what did that look like? Because at the same time, scarcity is our biggest enemy a lot of times, but people have to know about us and they have to be aware of us. So what were you first doing to get your products in front of people?
Well, I think, kind of my concept back in South Africa, and we adopt the same concept now, is really working hard with the press outlets that we work with, and we work very closely with the celebrities. So one of the beautiful things about the Natalie Mills designs is that they kind of can be seen as real deal, fine jewelry fashion, but they actually are just normal high quality fashion jewelry. A lot of the celebrities don't want to go out with these huge insurance claims and have the bodyguards follow them. They want to get on a plane, look great, go do a show and come back. And that's where we really found out with our designs, giving the look of fine jewelry as fashion jewelry. So I think it's really critical, have a look at your niche, make sure you follow your niche, have a look at your audience, but tie up with good press, tie up with celebrities. But as much as I say this, you've got to have a good product as well. You've got to have a product that's going to fit that space, and that will determine how you get your brand out there. We use social media as a huge platform as well, our own ambassadors that we love and adore, but really getting that credibility of good celebrities puts you in good stead.
Like from that perspective, then, like, how have you connected with celebrities? Like, how have you managed to do that? Because it is interesting. Like in fashion, it's who is somebody wearing, and things like that. So it's vital into what people buy. But how have you been able to connect with the right celebrities to create that level of trust?
I think it's just having a really good product and a good brand with a good standing that they perhaps listen to the presentations that we put forward, and it's kind of also having that consistency of always bringing out new designs that they eventually open up a lot more to you. But it's just like anything in life, Jeremy. You got to knock, right? When you knock and you knock and you knock, eventually that door gets open. So there's just so much perseverance in me and in the company that, like I said to the girls the other day, we don't know how to give up around here. And I think that's just, been the fight within me since I was, from a very young age, coming to America, starting from scratch, literally again. That it's just that fight and that desire in me. How bad do I want it? But it's just knocking, but again, having the good approach, the right brand, the right presentation. They eventually listen.
Well, you mentioned knocking, 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 and I think one of the biggest things we deal with that knocking is the disappointment, right? Like, a lot of people don't have this concept of how many times it's going to take to get something, right? They knock once and the door doesn't open and they're like, all right, I'm done. But at the same time, if you're going to be successful, you have to be able to deal with that, being rejected again and again and again. How have you managed to deal with that? Like, how have you managed to handle that for yourself?
You know what it is, Jeremy? I always kind of look at this as something, there's something about wanting something, big goals, big dreams, but it's all about that desire. And I think when you have got a huge desire, that burning desire in you, you understand that there are going to be no's, but you're going to kind of get back up. And, our brand is not only about fashion and accessories, although that's what the prettiness of it, but it's very much, I love to use my story to inspire others. And I believe it's a gift that I've been given as well. So I've got such a passion for fashion, as I've got a passion for showing people that no matter where you're from, be it the tip of Africa, be it, no matter what your circumstances are, if you have got that burning desire in you, and that burning desire is going to get you up when you get knocked down, it's going to keep you driven, it's going to, whenever the no's come at you, you're going to kind of hit it hard. That is what's going to get it through, because that's really what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. If you want to give up on your first no, don't even start. Like, don't even put yourself through it. Think of something else, because there are going to be so many more no's than what they're going to be yeses.
I think that's such a vital point. Like I'm in my mid 30s now, but in my early 20s, I sold life insurance. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned is how to make 50 phone calls a day, right? Because, after you get past that point, it doesn't really hurt as bad, but you have to be able to deal with disappointment, because it happens, right? That's how you build a business, is by hard work and really pushing things through. So I guess like looking at it, if you could give, younger Natalie one piece of advice, like what would you tell her, that you've learned in your journey now?
Well, it's funny. You said that you kind of were doing life insurance. I started out selling with Kirby the vacuum cleaners. So
oh, cool! That must have been interesting.
I would go into the homes and I'd vacuum the mattresses and everything like that. And I was top salesperson there. Funny enough. I think the only bit of advice I would give young Natalie is to be kinder to herself. I think as you grow in the maturity, you're not so hard on yourself when the no's come to you. You kind of manage to get a bit of a thicker skin to handle it. But the resilience in her then is the resilience in me now, and that's kind of gets me through the very next hurdles, but just have more of a belief in myself that I'm going to figure it out. A lot of times we think, are we going to figure it out? Having the belief that that if something crosses your path, you're going to figure it out is just so important to kind of keep you going. So I would tell her, you're going to figure it out, even though you're doubting yourself a lot right now as well.
I think that's so vital, because I think oftentimes, we're comparing, somebody else's chapter 50 to our chapter 1.
Absolutely.
And we look at that and we say, oh my gosh, like, how did Natalie do that? Or how did this person achieve that? And, I'm only just starting out, or whatever it may be. But, like, you can't compare your first chapter to somebody else's, 50th in some point in time, because they've put a lot of work in to get there.
But you can't even compare their 50th because you don't know what's going on. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? We've always got this beautiful picture at the end. I mean, look at the pressure that we got on social media, and you want that perfect shot. Let me tell you, there were 300 shots before that perfect shot. So even though you feel like, hey, Natalie's got it together, I don't. You know what I mean? So you can't compare something of which you do not know.
Mhm.
And the only person you should compare yourself against is the person that you were yesterday. And our dreams are different, our desires are different, circumstances are different as well. So I just encourage anybody, don't compare because you don't know what you're comparing with. You don't know the full extent of what's going on.
So for somebody leading in a growing organization, it can be difficult, right? Because there's many different things you have to consider, in addition to how people are even doing. So for you, as somebody like leading in your organization day to day, what does that look like for you, and what you're doing on a daily basis in terms of leadership?
I think the most important thing with leadership is the culture. It's the culture that you embody and the culture that you create. And knowing that each and every one of the people that you are leading are special, they're unique, and they've got the most beautiful talents, and God made only one of them, of which we are to respect, love, and cherish. But I lead very much from the front, but I work very much side to side. I'm not scared to get my hands dirty. I'm not scared to do all the kind of things that, in fact, I'm the first one that gets down there to kind of lead from that. Because in that way, they'll understand that you're in this together and you are not in a different higher hierarchy than them, because that is what creates distance between you and your employees, when you've got an untouchable view, or you've got a him versus me. And so really that togetherness is really critical. And I think especially now when you're thinking about all the different changes that we have. We got COVID, we're
Yeah.
working from home, and then we're back into the office, and then you've got now war going on. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
really looking at you to say, how do we navigate it? And I really want to encourage us, we will only navigate this together. No man is an island. That's what my late dad always used to say, and it's such a valuable piece of advice.
It's so true, and it's funny you mentioned like the changing work world. The number of times I've had my 3-year-old walk in and tell me like she's got to go to the bathroom and she needs help, or I'm like, you're not wearing clothes, this is a real problem. So it's like, the world has changed a lot, and I think at the same time, as leaders, it's important to recognize like what people are going through, the things they care about, the things they don't care about, because that allows us to like you said, put the right culture there, and culture is really what helps a growing brand to expand.
Absolutely. And I think if you look back pre-COVID to what COVID is now, I attend a lot of studies with leaderships, and, the whole workplace has been dissected, and it's no longer that they look at how much am I earning, it's look like what is my purpose in this position. So it's
Yes.
very important for people to know that this is what the company is about, this is the brand and the embodiment of a company, and this is what you are part of, because that means so much more now than what it does before. But just like you mentioned, your daughter walking in, things are just changing, you know what I mean? And I think we're becoming so much more forgivable for it, right? It's kind of it's so okay for that to happen. So I think that wall and that kind of facade has dropped a lot, and it's made everybody a lot more vulnerable. And I find that so much more beautiful. You open up a Zoom meeting and everyone's nose is in the air and trying to figure it out, and it just shows that we're all just human trying to figure this out.
Well, I guess for you, what are the biggest things that you're focusing on, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as somebody growing an organization? Like, what are you focusing on, the most right now?
I think it's just product development. You've always got to kind of find out what is out there, what is trending out there. And one thing in a business aspect that we're really focusing on is TikTok. Really, you've got to get into the trends and figure out what is going on. So our focus right now, also a lot of re-strategizing, because the market that we knew before is not the market that we know now. Even with our direct sales, it's very much online based. No more door knocking that our reps used to do. So yeah, just looking at the change of times after COVID. So we've had COVID. Now there's another new normal that we're trying to get used to as well, because the old way of doing things isn't the new way of doing things, even though COVID's kind of, still there, but it's not as prevalent. But
Sure.
yeah, really looking at the TikToks of the world, and, looking at all the other new social media elements of revenue generating, that's something that we're exceptionally focused on right now.
Looking at like how the world has changed, that's an interesting point, and I guess I'm always interested to see like how it's changed in different industries specifically. So I guess for you, like, what are the biggest changes you've seen in your industry? Like, because I think of like for myself, I used to do speeches all over the world. I had spoken stages in Europe and South America, and it's people don't really do that as much anymore because they're just, I guess, not as comfortable with it or whatever it may be. Like, what are the biggest changes you've seen come through your industry, and do you think they're permanent?
Well, just like you mentioned, you used to do speeches on stages. Before you used to knock on the door to go see a buyer. Now it's all about line sheets. Now it's kind of tying into what are those platforms that are business to business platforms. And do I see things going back to the way they were? No, I don't, because even though the human touch is not there, which I really miss, and I think we all should miss in some way,
Yes.
the way that we're doing things now is just way more effective, way more time. It's saving a lot of time. And I think we as humans, we're very resilient. So when we adapt to something, we adapt, and then we kind of forget about the way it was before, and we figure out the new adaptation of how it looks. So that's a big thing, is just, business to business online is just way bigger than it ever was before.
Well, I guess speaking of change, a lot of times that can make us, in action. It can get us stuck. We can also see how businesses are growing or not growing, get us stuck. And I guess for you, when you're feeling stuck and you're not feeling maybe as like something is going as it should be going, like how do you personally handle that?
Breathe. Take a breath. I think I do. You know what I do, Jeremy? I do a lot of strategizing, and me personally, I like to be very visual. So
Hmm.
I put everything up on the wall, write everything down, and then it helps me to compartmentalize what is going on, what areas am I not seeing, how do we, make those areas better, how do we make those areas better. But in times when things are really challenging and difficult, it's so critical for your mental health. So get back to exercising. I do a lot more meditation than what I do before. I watch what I eat, because that all those bad vibes in your body doesn't let you make the best decisions, for the business. So, and pray. As a kingdom company, the Lord Jesus is our center, and I know that He is in control, and His guidance and His prayer just gives me that peace and that discernment to get through any challenges that I kind of see that we'd be facing.
Like what role does your faith play in your life as an entrepreneur? Because it's interesting. I feel like as a not just a country but like as a planet, we've become increasingly less spiritual, and to me that's not a good thing. But I guess like looking at it, what role has your faith played in your life?
It's everything. It's the Lord. It's so omnipresent that it just is there, but it's in absolutely everything. Like, a lot of people ask me, how do you get where you are, Natalie, or how have you managed to do that? And I have one answer, and I will always have one answer, and that's God. I can't, knowing my past and the really hard times that I've been through, Jeremy, and things have not been easy in my life. I could not have sustained or grown to that matter if I was relying on my strength and my strength alone. It's a supernatural strength, me sitting here and chatting to you and feeling the energies and feel it's God. So it's played a huge role. And I think our company in general, we've got the same culture. So start off with prayer meetings, and that quiet time and just connecting with the Holy Spirit guides me beyond what I could actually even put into words right now. So very important.
Very cool. Well, Natalie, I've really enjoyed our conversation. For people
Yeah.
listening, if they want to connect with you, if they want to find out more about your company and what you're doing, how's going to be the best way for them to do that?
Go to our website, www.nataliemills.com, and I might make you repeat that, Jeremy, because my accent, sometimes people don't get it. But go to our website, have a look at our website. That's the best way. If you want to reach out to us for any questions, just email info@nataliemills.com. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you and love to embrace you with our bling.
All right. Once again, that is nataliemills.com. Our guest today has been Natalie Mills, the founder of that company. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thanks, Jeremy. It's been so good.